Hi guys, welcome back to this week's Monday Mojo. I can't believe it. It is the 1st of June, crazy times. So welcome. I'm just going to keep doing these at midday on Mondays and give you that weekly mojo. So if you've tuned in, thanks so much for being part of the tribe, for liking and subscribing, and hit that notification bell. Today's message is a follow-on on really standing in your power, but also I think most importantly, how we navigate change. If you've listened to any of my podcasts, the Mojo Maker show on Spotify and iTunes, or you've read my blogs, or you've followed me on LinkedIn, Nikki Fogden-Moore, or anything, you'll realize that I'm always talking about a spot of accountability. And what happens when we go through massive growth and then huge shifts, we get a tight spot. And how to navigate that tight spot gives you the magic ingredients between striving and thriving. And that's really the sweet spot between understanding what growth really means and how to seamlessly go through the process. So I always like to caveat that life's a little bit like a rally rather than a Formula One track. So Formula One, someone comes in and they pick up the lint off the road for you and they make a really smooth surface, and then off you go and you can drive with your freshly reset set of tires. Whereas a rally, anything can happen, all conditions, all seasons, different visibility, and that's really the thrill. And to me, that's what life is about. So welcome for today's Mojo. Thank you for tuning in and joining, and whatever time you're watching this, all these videos are timeless. They're not related to a specific week or a specific month. They're related to a specific moment in your life where you've probably been looking for a handbook, a navigation tool, or some kind of tactical response to get your way out of chaos and into calm. And I like to take it to another level, which is really thinking about, excelling in the unpredictability of life, because that's what this is. It shouldn't be a cookie cutter approach. It shouldn't be a Stepford or a kind of a system where everything is in control. That is exactly what's happening in our world at the moment. We have a huge resistance to being controlled. We have a huge resistance to authority. We have massive outbreak of challenging society's norms and rules, and a huge sense of justice coming into play. And you'll find probably that is coming up for you on an individual basis is just the need to have a sense of your sovereign self more than ever before. And that is indeed your birthright. It's indeed what makes you the leader that you are. And it's crucial for you to understand the tools and the navigation required to actually enjoy all the skills and all the dimensions that you have to live a fulfilling and successful, abundant life, right? So that doesn't mean you're not going to fall off the horse, skin your knees, crash into things, get stuck in quicksand, but you will always find your way out of that. And I think at the time when we go through chaos, we always think it's the worst thing in the world to be happening to us, that we'll never get through it, that the time that is the most dark will actually last forever. And we find that fleeting moments like happiness and those little things, the things that light us up, that they're just moments in time. And I challenge you to think it the other way around, that happiness and being in the flow rather than being in control is your new normal. Understanding yourself is your most important project, because that puts you directly in the driver's seat to understand the landscape that you're in, the tools that you need, the resources available, and your pit crew around you. So today's part of the Mojo series, I'm really excited because it's a practical tool that's part of my first book in this special series. It's called Adulting. It's already been pre-launched, but we're doing a redesign as part of a series. So for those of you that have pre-purchased, you've got special editions coming back. So thank you so much. It's on my website, thevitalitycoach.com.au. Just hit the link books and you can pre-purchase Adulting. But it really is the 7 stages from stressed out and survival mode to success. So let's take a step back and go straight to today's show and today's Mojo. And it's really about harnessing the next dimension in leading in life. And we will really, really sometimes be challenged on our own programming. We'll be challenged on what all the things that got us to this point, the things that we believe gave us our tenacity, our work ethic, our drive, our purpose, our conviction, our intellectual smarts, the things that got us to a certain title, maybe a family situation, a job, a business, whatever it is, whatever got you to today, were all the foundations that enabled you to succeed and create the life that you have now. The challenging aspect that I'd like to throw for you is, what if I told you that this next phase could just be a little bit more effortless, and that instead of keeping punching through the box all the time and kind of giving 100%, what if you actually stopped trying to punch through things and stopped trying to force things and stopped trying to anticipate, and actually just take a deep breath, step back and go around the side of the box? So what lies around the other side, left or right? What path do you take? Instead of just trying to punch through and get up and have a feeling of resilience and pride because you're bloodied and muddied and beaten down and you still get up again. Where did we learn that we have to crumble before we can rise? So yeah, there's a certain sense that whatever has got you to this point has given you all your experience, but it shouldn't tarnish you from harnessing the abundance and the happiness and actually the flow of decision making. Right? So today, you really, really have to have a resolve to evolve. The more you resist change, the more that you deny your growth and your true potential, the more roadblocks will come your way. For example, the more you turn a blind eye to what is not in alignment to you, you will get triggered. The more that you pretend that you're happy in a people, place, project situation that you're not, it will keep giving you moments of unrest. It will keep challenging you until the point where you actually start losing financially, you lose energetically, you lose emotionally. So the more we misalign and the more we ignore the signs that we're going through change because we're resisting that change, and the more we want to hang on to what we know, then the universe steps in and starts dismantling that construct for us. And once again, that's what's happened in our world in the last 3 to 4 months more than ever, is the construct of success, the construct of how we do business, the construct of how we school our children, the construct of, work, life, family, everything from feminism to racism to all the big, big topics have all been thrown back at us. Health, politics, global economy, everything has compounded that nobody on this planet can escape those topics. And ultimately it comes back to your sovereign self. Where are you in alignment and what do you really want to achieve? Because there will be a shakeup. And if we keep denying the inevitable change, we will get forced into it. And that is the worst way to do it. So you actually have a choice. When you hit a roadblock or you hit a fork in the road, you can have a choice. You can stay where you are, that's familiar, or you can be curious and understand there's a reason that opportunity or that momentum or that originating idea keeps popping up time and time and again. So if you resist change and you hang on to all you know, ultimately you'll probably be forced out of the nest and you'll have to learn to fly. And I know a lot when leaders happen, when they get to a certain position in power, they think they've got there to that point, but you're forced to evolve as a leader. I want to give you a little example of that. A lot of surgeons and specialist surgeons all of a sudden had to go from really being masters of their own course and running their own kind of, life with their own skills that were specialty, that were honed, that went and studied for years and years, were suddenly asked to become practice managers, not just specialist surgeons. We've got legal beagles and people that have suddenly have to become entrepreneurs as well as legal aspects. And I think this is the thing, we've been asked to be multifaceted more than ever before. And a lot of the times people didn't sign up for this. They said, well, I just started out learning this or practicing this pattern or doing something this way. And actually you're being forced to look at things much more holistically than ever before. Relationships, projects, people, places, and things. Everything is up for grabs. Everything is moving beneath your feet. And as a friend of mine said, it's like having balls on your feet. You can't get any traction and it's just going and going and going. So today's thing, I want to give you 3 steps on how to resolve that change is good. It doesn't have to be scary and you don't have to go from 0 to 100. It's a step-by-step process. The first part of this, and this is in adulting, is the awareness that what is happening is really out of your control, that you have to have a certain sense of intent But then, especially if something keeps niggling at you or keeps changing beneath your feet, you're going to have to go with it. And the awareness of when you're not in the flow, that has a very chemical reaction in your body. You know that gut feeling when you know something's off, it just doesn't smell right, doesn't feel right. It's forcing you to a situation where you just don't feel comfortable anymore. A lot of the times we have been taught to push down those emotions, to ignore those gut feelings and to push through things. I'm challenging you on that and telling you to take heed of what your body is telling you. Take heed of that little voice that is telling you this doesn't feel right. This is not me anymore. And to give yourself permission to flow into what could be better. So very, very important is you have to give yourself permission to change. You have to give yourself permission to grow, and you have to give yourself permission to evolve, because you're not the same person that you were a year ago, no doubt, 3 years ago, 5 years ago, even for some people 5 days ago. So that ability to be agile is very, very important, and probably more important than resilience. Because agility allows you to learn from your experiences. It allows you to have a sense of curiosity rather than fear. And it also replaces an exhaustion energetic field with one of courage and tenacity. So when you have agility as your founding change mechanism rather than resilience, you get given an extra bout of energy that is positive, intriguing, and curious. And if you think about it, resilience is about hanging on, getting up, overcoming things. It's kind of a very exhausting kind of energy of repetitive, having to kind of stand up tall, get beaten down, stand up tall, get beaten down. Whereas agility comes with a sense of curiosity. It comes with a sense of speed, of flexibility, of an organic nature that allows you to flow with the tide. And I always say to my clients is sometimes you have to be like water over stone. Water always finds the path of least resistance instead of being the salmon and swimming upstream. So what are you, water over stone, or are you always the salmon swimming upstream? So once you've decided that you're allowed to lean into change and you've given yourself permission, the biggest roadblock is the fear, where will change take me? What happens if? But all these blurts that come through as we start to embark one foot in front of the other on the possibility of potential. It's a very, very scary place, because the place that you're in now, you understand, you know the four walls that you're in, you know the good, the bad, and the ugly. But when you go through change and a door is open to you, but you can't quite see exactly where it's going, the unknown factor brings up a lot of residual fears, anything from fear of being rejected if you're going for a job offer, or maybe you're changing career, or you want to start your new business. Identify and be aware of what those roadblocks are. So what I say is always, I share a little model with you. So this is in the book Adulting. So with the evolution, you've always got to start off with the pillar of awareness. And then when you're writing down what it is that you're aware of, what are the opportunities? What has niggled at you? What is that little voice saying? Either it's, you have to go after this property. You have to go after this deal. That person means the world to you. That project could be everything. Hear that voice and heed that voice. And then be aware of what your ego or what the black wolf is telling you, which are your blurts and roadblocks, which is this little bit down here. My little stick figures. I haven't done them today. I should do that again. So with every single possibility, there comes a potential roadblock where your alter ego self, your subconscious that is happy with you in the situation that you're in, keeps you there and goes, oh, no, why rock the boat, right? So you have to overcome that blurt and have curiosity replace your fear. Now, the only tangible, technical, and pragmatic way to do that is actually to take all that cognitive pontification out of your head and to put it onto paper. And I don't mean on paper in your computer. I actually mean a pen and paper. It is the fastest way to declutter your mind, make room in your mental hard drive, and give you an overview and perspective that you can make good decisions from. So the first pillar is awareness. I know something is not right or is a good thing to go for. And secondly, what are the roadblocks around that keep me trapped in fear? Once you recognize them, they have no energy and hold on you because you can assign an action to them. If you keep a fear up here, it holds you. If you get it out onto paper and you recognize it, it diffuses the amount of energy it has in your decision-making power. Remember, energy is like blockchain. It goes all over the place. So once you've done that, you also have to identify, once you've figured out that you're actually giving yourself permission to change, because change is ultimately the scariest thing for humans, which is why over so many years, walking into the unknown is often, only fortune favors the bold, they say. So only the fearless will risk things, taking a leap of faith, all these things which are based on kind of like bravery and courage. But essentially that's what life takes. It takes bravery and courage. It takes the ability to be aware of what really lights you up and to be brutally honest with yourself. And when you come from that level of brutal, honest awareness, and you can have the conversation of self versus self-talk, you can then start to be accountable for having the anchoring to take the steps that you need one step at a time. Now, most of the people I work with are predominantly men, and the biggest thing I've learned in 20 years of coaching with men is they always feel they have to have the end situation figured out. Or when they're going through change, they automatically take their mind to the end result and all the conflict that could occur with change. Now, that's a very, very dangerous place to be, because quantum physics-wise, we really don't know where things are actually going to end up. We can only assume. And you've got two constructs to assume from: the past, right, and the present, because the future hasn't even been written yet. So when we're making decisions, we tend to lean on past experiences. However, energetically, you can also redefine and propose what the future can look like, because if you can imagine it, it is a possibility. You have to choose your thoughts and be accountable for the language that you're using as you go through change. And sometimes it can be minute by minute, especially if you're doing something that's completely out of your comfort zone. A lot of you listening to this today probably won't have a choice. You'll probably be forced into change. You're probably dynamic leaders that you just know there's more out there. You're just like, and you probably get really frustrated with yourself. Why does this have to be so difficult? I've founded this business, I've been doing this, I've had this family. Why do I feel so uneasy? It's because you're trying to use the same operating system for an entirely different landscape. It's time today to think differently about how you approach challenges and how you have curiosity in the steps from awareness, accountability to take action. And that's how you evolve. You evolve with the awareness that change is healthy. You evolve with the accountability that your actions and thoughts determine the end result. And you also evolve with action, which is not just thinking about it, but putting things in place one step at a time to start that trajectory. Even if it's really scary, all you need to do is the next right thing. And each phase that you do that with, you've got your awareness, the first phase, like, I know I need to change. I realize I'm changing. I feel I'm being forced to change. I feel like the whole world is changing. Whatever the situation is, it could be in a tiny ecosystem or a global ecosystem. It's still change. And you have to recognize then your internal dialogue about this change. And probably I'd say that's the most important homework to do, because your internal dialogue is actually the difference between your handbrake and seamless success. Is your internal dialogue keeping you stuck out of fear, avoiding conflict, blame, shame, guilt, trust? Don't even trust yourself anymore. A lot of people that I've worked with have pushed so hard to get where they are. They're in situations where they're just totally confused. So how do you take yourself out of this confused chaos and move into accountability where you have a sense of calm and peace? You have an awareness for exactly what's going on in your mind. You know here that you need to change. You know it's healthy. And then you have to break down the unhealthy paradigms, the roadblocks, the blurts, the programming, the judgment that are stopping you from evolving into your truest potential. And I want to loop this back into a leadership position. Ultimately, that's what my core purpose of work is to make sure that great leaders with good values operate with the majority of cash flow in this world. That means that our companies are our new community. So those values systemically have to filter through to every single person in a business, whether it's someone who does the trash to someone who's running the budgets in a C-suite level. It does not make any difference. If you're working inside an organization, if you're part of something, there is a culture attached to that. And that culture stems down from the leader, the founder, the decision maker, and the person that actually drives the business forward. So you can say you have a brand name, whether or not you've taken a franchise or whether or not this is your own business, you are ultimately creating the values of the company that you're running and the family that you're running. So your actions, the third part of change, are very, very crucial. It's not just what we say, it's what we do that really matters. And that ability to take action, that ability to stand up, that ability to take a measured response is what separates those that stay stagnant and those that flow with growth and flow with a new landscape and are part of this new dimension of leadership. And it's very, very important, because if you're listening to this, then there's a reason you're here. You've already accepted a charter that you are there on this planet to reach your highest potential, whatever that is, because your ultimate individual sovereign self is part of a bigger mix that makes everything interact. It makes everyone interdependent. It makes the whole collective co-creative. Very, very important. One of my podcasts, Emergent with Stephen Scott Johnson, talks about the ripple effect of communities and tribes. We are in that situation again, and you're very, very, very much a part of that process. Very important. You are part of the process. You're part of the plan of the higher self and the bigger picture. I'm working on some really great cap raise deals at the moment. And one of the things I was speaking to one of my contacts on the phone this morning is we're speaking about relationships. This is also crucial for how you evolve. Just because we can't do our long lunches and we don't have enough time to sit in front of someone and have that energetic transfer, we build trust, know, like, and trust. We have to put more energy and effort into truly being congruent in all aspects of our life, which means if you're doing a Zoom call or if you're on a phone call, how you come across is an energetic transfer of your intent to that other person. So when you're going through change, if you've realized that you've maybe hit the ceiling in your financial potential, that you're no longer happy in your family environment, that you're trying to juggle your old life with your new, all I do is encourage you to take a step back, to grab a piece of paper and to trust yourself. And that's what all this coaching is about on the show, is to give you the tools to back yourself, to give you the tools to take your power back, to sit there and understand, what is it that I feel? What is it that I want to need? What is the next best step to do that? And to really take ownership of what your gut is telling you. You can use your head, your experience, your landscape, your resources, the tools accessible to you to help undertake that roadmap. But the most important thing of all is to listen to yourself. And that takes the greatest work. That is where the hard work comes in, because we've got so much noise in society and so much need for external validation. What does my board think? What does my best friend think? What does so-and-so think? Do I have enough likes on Instagram? Am I getting enough people reading my articles on LinkedIn? How's someone going to find all this about me? You have to stop looking for outside validation, and you must come back into yourself, because that is the most powerful place that you can be to create ideas, to have awareness, to hold your accountability and take the next right step. And if you're a leader, there is no other place to come from, because people are looking to you for the next right thing to do. And let me just come back and loop back. So this is your little diagram here, right? You do your 3 columns. I keep it really simple on a piece of paper like this, just to show you don't need a fancy worksheet. Although with the book, you get all these worksheets as well. So I'll put the link for adulting, new cover, new design, new series, part of 3, very exciting, in the show notes and description box below. If you haven't signed up already for my Monday Mojo, please do so, vitalitycoach.com.au. There's a big sign up as soon as you come on there. Anyway, so you've got your 3 columns. You've got your awareness, which is, what do you really feel? What's being pushed? You know, if you're always busy, you won't have time to listen to this. So you have to stop. The second thing, once you've done this column, you can go to accountability, because that is, what am I willing to do to put myself in a position where I can evolve? Where do I get curious? I am my most important project. So where am I going to invest in my own education on what the next right thing to do is? What do I need to know? Who do I have to have around you? What do I have to do next to make this a reality? And the other thing is accountability, to understand down here, again, the blurts box. What are you most afraid of? Are you afraid of judgment? Are you afraid of losing everything you already have? Are you afraid of a complete job change? Are you afraid of, changing the company too much. Well, it doesn't matter what the answer is. What matters is that you identify your fears, because those fears are ideas, they're not reality. You can always work around a solution when you identify what the problem is. But if you leave everything up here, you're taking up valuable creative hard drive space that will give you momentum to move into your next dimension. And the last thing is action. Once again, you've made your list of what you might need to do next, but you must be aware of the dialogue that your ego is having. How will you get hold of XYZ person? Who would even think that's a great idea? How would I even do this? Do I deserve that? We have all these limiting beliefs and conversations that sit subconsciously, and we're not even aware of them. We have this conversation constantly, time and time again, and we let that conversation run all the time. You must stop it. You must pause. You must identify that, because those roadblocks are preventing you from your ultimate sovereign success. They're preventing you from your next creative project. They're preventing you from being in love with leading in your life. And when I say that, I mean every word of that. Those internal roadblocks and dialogues, the self-talk, no one else, just you, is preventing you from leading in life. Now, that's often come from external programming, whether it's from childhood or even up until recently. As we get more responsibility, we really don't want to fail. And that means we have to do more mindset work than ever before, because the greater responsibility creates the greater work we must do to stay grounded and anchored. And that really is the most important project. And I always say this to my clients. I'm pretty sure I said this last week. What if I was to say to you, there's $1 million project. You've got a week to put it together. I want you to take 15 minutes a day. That's 1% of your day to work entirely on that project, the awareness, the accountability, and the action that you need to take around it. $1 million guaranteed, 15 minutes a day for 7 days. Would you do it? Heck, you would. But what if you are worth that for yourself, and you decided that you're your $1 million project, that you're going to take 15 minutes a day for 7 days to work on your own awareness, your own accountability, and your own action task, and to really do project self as a priority, because you really matter. It's so, so important that as you evolve into this new landscape that's being generated in our society today, that you have all the tools necessary to be agile, to be clear, to have clarity, and to have confidence to back yourself, because you know what you need. You can access your creativity, your commercial acumen, your vision, and your prowess. Very, very important. At the end of the day, we need every single leader in life to really understand all your own superpowers, to access an even greater knowledge than before, and to get excited again. Many of you have gone through multiple years in your career, and I urge you to step up again and discover that creativity that had you been entrepreneurial in the first place, because we need that energy back. And that energy comes from you being centered and grounded and excited and going, wow, this could be something that I've never imagined. What if? Not why not, but what if? And I think if you have the ability to be curious, the universe will reward you. But you must understand the simple toolkit of always hearing the self-talk that happens, the blurts, the judgment, the roadblocks, and be okay with that. We've all got a shadow side. We all have a side of fear. I mean, fear is healthy. And I'm pretty sure I gave you the lion analogy. Have I given you guys the lion analogy? So the lion analogy is there's two people and they're sitting in Africa and they've got two chairs, and along comes this massive big lion. And one guy's like, oh my God, it's a lion. And he goes into a fetal position and he's like freaking out and he's trying to hide. He's looking for a tree and he's like, oh, I'm going to die. This is the worst thing ever. His heart is beating out of his chest, And the other guy is sitting there going, oh, how beautiful. Look at this lion. Amazing. Just staying calm, doing all the right things because he's seen a lion time and time before. So life is really about perspective. You either get afraid of the lion or you get curious about the lion and you stay calm and centered and you think, what is the next right thing to do? Running away and getting panicky is not a good thing to do in front of the lion. And when I'm in, I was at PwC the other day, this is before COVID, and I was in the lift and everyone, we're having a big, leadership meeting, And I said, why is everyone so stressed out? I did not see a lion in the corridor before I came into the boardroom. You're getting heart palpitations, you're sweating, you're staying up at night, you're letting information percolate in your head as if it's a life and death situation, but mostly it's just an email, or it's just an expectation, or it's a P&L. You've really got to back yourself and put things into perspective. Trust your intelligence. Trust your sense of spirit, your sense of drive, your curiosity, the ability to learn, to evolve, because that is our greatest gift as humans, is always having momentum. As Einstein said, life's like a bicycle. To have balance, you need to have momentum. And that's what I encourage you to do today. If you're listening to this, my Monday Mojos are always a little bit spontaneous and organic, because I like to have a chat with you guys. And I want to be real and say that every single person, whether they're the most incredible basketballer of all time, or they're sitting in a boardroom, or you're Warren Buffett, or you're Elon Musk, or you're just, an individual mumpreneur, everyone battles with self-talk. Everyone has moments of self-doubt. Everyone gets confronted with change. But it's what we do with change. It's what we do with that lion in front of us that differentiates whether life does stuff to you or you do things with life. So you decide what camp you want to sit in. But I'm firmly behind no hope projects. I'm firmly behind taking the tools and the tenacity to understand the multifaceted skills, knowledge, resources, and abilities we're each given, and to take the time to invest in yourself as a project, even if it's 15 minutes a day, and go, I really matter. I really want to find out. So replace that fear. Replace these last bits here. Or fear with curiosity up here. 10% fear, 90% curiosity. It will change the way you look at the landscape of life. It will give you an undying connection to more information, knowledge, power, and happiness. And most of all, a sense of calm and peace and integrity in everything you do, because I can tell you there is always a solution. There is always opportunity, and you're going to be okay. You just have to figure out that you're in a rally and not a Formula One track. You don't want everything to be perfect. You want it to be highs and lows, to have rain, hail, and shine, to be all the seasons, because that's what makes this life so beautiful. The good, the bad, and the ugly on the way. So please let go of the walls of familiarity. Please understand that if you're in a leadership position, whether it's one within your community, one within your family, or one within a board level or running an organization, that you can't just sit there and keep doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. You're being asked to step up. You're being asked to create space to consider what you're really made of, and to not keep deflecting back to everything happening to you, but to ask yourself, what if? What could I do differently? What's burning inside of me? What questions are coming up? And to allow the space for that information to come to you. So forget about what anyone else says. Take the time to consider what's really, really important to you. Go back to last week's Mojo, where I talk about the think, feel, want, and need quadrant, so you can understand how to back yourself. Because at the end of the day, you're the one in the driver's seat. So I hope I encourage you today to think about the fact that you have to have resolve to evolve. You can't wing it. You can't just allow the wind to blow you any which direction. You have to want to grow. You have to want to be curious. And the greatest thing about relationships, whether it's business or personal, is those that allow you to grow and grow with you will have limitless years together. And that is really something to do with personal relationships as well. We have to allow the people that we love, whether we work with those people or we live with those people, to keep growing, because that is your birthright. That evolution, that curiosity, the ability to change and to become the best versions of ourselves without judgment and without fear and without trapping someone is so crucial. So always allow space for someone to keep growing. Allow them to discover their skills. Allow them to be their own sovereign self. Even inside a family, you've got 4 different personalities if you've got 4 people in that house. So my biggest advice is figure out what really matters to you. Change your fear. Replace it with curiosity. Resolve to evolve as a leader, not necessarily in books, but in life. Figure out where your curiosity is and understand that everything is to do with energy. So what you think about expands. Choose your thoughts. 10% blurts and roadblocks, get them out on paper. 90% possibility. It would change how your body feels. It will change the energy that you have. It will change the sleep patterns. It will change the way you look at your day. If you've got questions about this, please leave a comment. I'd love to hear how you're liking the Mojos on the YouTube channel. Please like and subscribe. Shamelessly, I'm asking for that because I really love this platform and I really want to commit to keeping these conversations going. Even if you just take one thing away from today, you are your $1 million project. You are so important. Nobody else is going to put the work in, but you are. And don't forget that we're all leaders in life. No matter what we are, what our title, what our age, we have a ripple effect. Our actions actually inspire other people. So keep care of your side of the street. Don't worry about what anyone else in the other environment is doing. The person next to you reacts when they see the lion. You take care of you being the best version of yourself. Utilize the skills, have the awareness, have the accountability, take the action, and always know there's a solution and a toolkit. Even if you just want to leave me a comment or go onto Instagram, you can message at Fogden-Moore. Come join me on the vitalitycoach.com.au. Sign up and subscribe to the Mojo Maker podcast. Whatever I can do to put you firmly in the position of your sovereign self and really max out all the skills, knowledge, and integrity that you've been given. You probably just haven't even tapped into it yet. So, I hope that's about it. I just wanted to say I got one little email come through while I was talking to you guys with a question, and that question was, how do you deal with the unknown with change? So, that's the whole part of change. It's like being a scientist or an inventor, or sometimes we just have to have a huge element of faith and trust. And that means knowing that you can lean back and you'll always be uplifted by something. And that's why we have to stop making these massive, big statements of change or saying big, grand gestures. You just can break change down to one small chunk at a time. And that's why 90-day plans are so good. So what's the next right thing to do? What's the next step to take to, instead of punching through the box, just go around the side of it and think, what else could be out there? Doesn't mean you have to give up entirely on your whole life or who you are, but there's always an opportunity to evolve. And that evolution will have you being the best version of yourself. That curiosity will give you the energy like you've never had before. And it is essential to be a model leader in this life. So don't be afraid of change. Embrace it, harness it, use the tools available, and have the resolve to evolve. It's so, so important. And if you need anything, please reach out, ask questions, leave comments, but you've got to start adulting. I'll put the link for adulting, the book, the rally roadmap, and the 7 steps to go from chaos to calm below. We haven't released the new cover look yet, but I can't wait to do that. And thank you for tuning in. I wish you the most magical week. Remember, winning weeks, masterful months, and remarkable years. You're in the driver's seat. So good or bad days, it's all about living, and you get to get up and reset whatever is going on in your life. There is always something to be grateful for. So I hope I've given you some extra mojo. I've probably over-informed you. I tend to always do that. But most importantly, if there's a little sliver of light, that's all you need to follow. That will get you through the darkness. So stay healthy, wealthy, and wise. Have a look. There's hundreds of videos on my YouTube channel. If you're looking for something in particular, leave a comment below, and make sure that you spread the goodwill and share if you need to. And remember, your actions have a really, really great effect on others. So always do everything from love. Be kind. There is enough for everybody. A sense of abundance is a really great place to come from. So happy leading, and I'll see you next time.